theme music.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly. Well, everybody, hello, welcome. Yeah, see, here we are. Yeah, Brenna and I were just talking about, all right, let's just smile, pretend to laugh, so that awkward 2 seconds before we really go live. But hello, welcome everybody to the Creator Spotlight with my friend, as you can see here, Brenna McGowan. And today we're going to be talking about how to create and market your evergreen lead magnet. We've been promoting this, sharing it on social media. But Brenna, I wanted to bring you on because I know you've been focusing a lot on email copywriting, pre-launches for entrepreneurs and service providers, and you have a lead magnet yourself that has been successful. And I just thought this would be a great way for creators and entrepreneurs who are looking to build their email list up, start it from scratch. One way to do that is to create that lead magnet to bring some people in. So I thought this would be a fun conversation with you. And then second,
I love
how the heck are you?
Oh, good. I'm coming to you from sunny California. It was funny. There's been a heat wave, but actually I live close to Sacramento, and it's not unusual for us to have 100-degree, although we have air conditioning, coming from warm California.
Yeah, I know. I've seen like the Pacific Northwest, and like now it's like 80 degrees. It's like, what a change, like 30-40 degree change in weather. It's pretty wild. But
yeah, that doesn't happen around here. We go somewhere. Well, actually, I mean, it might drop. Like we might get to like 110, and then we'll get like a 90-degree day. But during the summers, we where I live, I rarely see 80. So
yeah.
But we don't have humidity like Chicago either.
No, you don't. Yeah, it can get pretty tough here. But yeah, Brenna, we're really excited to have you here in the Facebook Copy Co-op group. Everybody, thank you for tuning in live, and everybody tuning in, watching the replay. Hello. Hopefully we get a lot out of this today. Because I know like I get questions, as the cliche sounds. Oh, I get questions that they ask you this and XYZ. But like I have talked with a few people. You and I have both been kind of transitioning, doing some one-on-one copy coaching and consultations with other copywriters. And a lot of it's like, I want the confidence, I want ideas to build my email list. So that's what we want to touch on today, is how to create and market your evergreen lead magnet. And Brenna, let's get right into it. How do you come up with a lead magnet that your lead magnet idea your audience is looking for?
Well, the right answer here is to ask them, right? Is to really go to your audience the right answer, and then there's the way that I did it, which I'll tell you about in a moment. So the right answer is to figure out what those like gaps that you can fill in. What can you give them in a lead magnet that gives them enough information to be able to take some action, but doesn't give them so much that it confuses them. I also think here you have to really think about what is your ultimate goal? What are you selling? And so sometimes we hear, oh, you got to create a lead magnet. You got to create a lead magnet. And it's like, okay, yes, you do need to create a lead magnet, but we need to back up a little bit and start with, okay, what am I trying to sell? Yes. What is my end goal, my end game here? And then where can I back up and go and ask and figure out, what my people need to take the right steps to go ahead and retain my services or buy my products. So now I said the right answer because I didn't do any of this. And I think this is an important part of, I in some respect, but I created what I call the segue guide, which is a guide that teaches people how to use emails and write story-based emails with your everyday stories with the use of a segue. But I'll be honest, I didn't ask my people this. Like I was listening to Laura Belgray. I was on a hot seat with her, which was terrifying. It was the first time I've ever talked to her. And during our hot seat, she said something about my email that she was critiquing, which was, wow, this was a beautiful segue, or something like, oh, here's the segue, something like that. I'm sorry, Laura, if I am quoting you wrong. But basically at that point, I had like a light bulb go off, and I thought, gosh, no one talks about the segue. We talk about there's all types of subject line guides, right? There's all kinds of things teaching you how to write emails, but no one's talking about this little piece of it called the segue. So I also think too, there's a part of going with your gut and saying, because my segue guide has been very successful, and I didn't necessarily ask my audience, although maybe I should have, maybe there's a lead magnet out there that I would have gotten better traction with. So I think there's a balance of going with your gut and using some strategy.
Yeah, I think a great point too in your story there is just being curious and having your ears to the ground, like thinking of some ideas. Like, this is a great segue that you did there. And it's just a great way to build engagement within the emails and get people to trust you and just, have that storytelling element. And so then you turned it into a guide to help other people. And then like you brought in like some other, professionals and, friends to share examples too in the segue guide. So I think that is just super important to just kind of be curious and think of some ideas. But you're right, like asking people, what are they looking for? And you can ask directly, but you can also just go online and look in Facebook groups that you're a part of. Look at, people who you're following online and see if they ask a question, what are copywriters struggling with? What are freelancers struggling with? And you can take those ideas and see like, well, I know how to do this. This is part of my process, right? And you can turn that into a lead magnet as well. So I think like not just maybe starting from scratch and being like, well, this is maybe something that I want. Just go ahead and take some time and do a little bit of research as well on what people are looking for.
Absolutely. And the one thing I'll mention about, which I did have this idea going into my segue guide too, was you mentioned I have, some very well-known copywriters inside of my guide. So not only did I use it as a way, of course, to attract traffic, but I also use it as an authority building piece, because all of a sudden here I am going in and commenting and, putting myself not, within this realm of copywriter, which I do think is another way when we're thinking about lead magnet is, okay, yes, we want to help our audience, but can we also be building our, our authority and credibility at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just we'll get to the next question here, but I just want to highlight, I love the point that you brought up initially of just like, what is the end goal here? Like, how do you want to help people? Like, what can really get them closer to being, a customer of yours, to further be like that paying customer? I think like having that end goal in mind, is super helpful because you're giving away something for free, some information, some value, right? And you're building that trust. They're getting to know you better. And then ultimately they can be on that email list, and then you can start to nurture that relationship.
Yeah, the end goal, I mean, marketing in general, I think sometimes we want to skip ahead and then going back, whether it's every email, our content plan, our website, what are our end goals, and then building from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then moving on here. So you created the segue, lead magnet there. So what are then some ways to market this lead magnet successfully? So like, what are 3 ways?
Right. Well, one way, which we didn't talk about beforehand, but I was thinking as we were talking, is that part of the reason my lead magnet was successful from the get-go is because I did include other people, so they were shouting it out. And so it does go to like overall collaboration, and cross-promotion is a great way. Being in other people's groups, doing lead magnet swaps, maybe doing story takeovers, things like that are an incredible way. And getting into groups like what we're doing right now, right? And talking about things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I first put out my lead magnet for the homepage copy playbook, and this is maybe how you and I got connected, Brenna, was through the copy chat with Marisa. And so like, I was talking to her and we were friends at the time, and we're still friends at the time. Sounds like fast tense. But I asked if I could share the playbook there. And she's like, yeah, send me some copy and I'll post it. And then that got me like 50, 60 subscribers in, a couple of days, which was just some great momentum. And then I could, get some feedback, and then I could start promoting it. But if you know somebody who has a group, has a good, strong following, I love that idea of Instagram takeover stories, as well, but also just going and sharing it. I think it just gets more eyeballs, because you may not, if you're starting from scratch, you probably don't have a lot of email, subscribers. Maybe you have followers, but to get email subscribers, I think just cross promoting, and even if they share it to their email list, it's super helpful.
Very helpful.
Yeah. What would be the next way to market the lead magnet idea?
Well, I think something that we forget is just talking about it, right? Doing it over and over and over again. And I'm like, oh, my audience has already heard about this, right? But no, just like in all marketing, we have to hear whether you're trying to sell something that's free, not sell, but get something to take advantage of something's free or paid. People have to hear about it repeatedly. The other thing I'll mention here is that something I learned, one of my original mentors, Chris Orzakowski, for email, he said something, and it stuck with me these years, is that people's problems mature. Meaning the problem I have today might not be I may not have this problem today, and something could totally change. A circumstance could change in my life that all of a sudden now I'm actually seeing something through a different light. And so talking about things repeatedly is in all sense of marketing, but especially with your lead magnet, is really going and saying, okay, how can I talk about this in different angles from different respects? How can I also love using the lead magnet as the answer inside my content. So maybe I create some type of open loop and create some curiosity. And from there, I am using my lead magnet as the answer to satisfy whatever curiosity, whatever thing that they need to kind of finish off what I've talked about in my content.
Yeah, no, great point. And I think it's like talking about it a lot. It's not just posting like, hey, here's my lead magnet again. Don't forget about this. But like coming up with some like fresh ideas and content ideas, like maybe a new story popped up where like somebody needed, the segue guide or like the homepage copy playbook or whatever lead magnet idea that you're coming up with, find ways to kind of bring that up. And like, yeah, you may have followers who've seen it, who have, downloaded it already, but, maybe they decide to share it that one day. I think if you've built that relationship, I think they'll still stick with you. Like, instead of just being like, oh, here's Terry or here's Brenna again, just talking about the segue guide. I think it's just important to talk about it a lot and just keep it fresh, for sure.
And this isn't a marketing tactic in terms of getting new subscribers, but even reminding your current subscribers once in a while, hey, like, this is why you signed up with me, right? Reminding them to go back and use that guy. Like, how many times have we downloaded? I'm the queen of this. Like, I see something and I'll be like, oh, I need to have this, but I don't have time to look at it right now. So I'm just going to go get it and have it in my inbox. And the heck, I have courses I've done this with, right? Where I like buy something and then I don't even look at it again and I forget that I have it. So, keeping in mind that reminding even your current subscribers to go out and use that is going to help.
Yeah. And even making updates to it. Like maybe you come up with, like maybe you have another person come and share an example of a segue, or you come up with some new ones, and then just let your email list know. Like, hey guys, I updated this. If you have it already, here's the link, to download it. And then you could promote it again. Like, hey, I updated my new guide, make sure to download it if you don't have the new one. And that could get some
that's been on my to-do list since January 1st. So
I'm telling you, mine too. I feel like we talked about this a little bit of just like even my homepage guide. I'm like, I want to update this now. I want to like add some stuff about testimonials and, should I just do a new one? Like, no, let me just update it and then share it. So that's been on my to-do list as well. But another way to market, we'll kind of, chime in here together. You brought it up at the end of the answer for talk about it a lot. Is, making it the answer in your content. So, create content around the lead magnet, turn it into a blog post, right? Maybe you do a live about it, right? And then you can turn that into a blog post. You were mentioning a story about, making Pinterest, like making pins and just having people find it that way. And it links to the lead magnet for them to download it. There's just a lot of, strategic ways across social media and like writing articles for you to get some eyeballs on it.
Well, and even too, pitching, if you have something too that's a really great framework, like your homepage guide, like this could be something that people, or on my segue guide, I've done this a ton, especially at the beginning, is pitching yourself for podcasts, right? It goes kind of back to the point number one too of the cross collaboration, but you are creating content around it too. And you're getting into, once again, it makes you that your lead magnet starts to become too a little omnipresent, where if you're talking about if it's on Pinterest, it's on, you mentioned YouTube during our discussion beforehand, like using it towards a video. Like there's so many different ways to kind of go about and start seeding it around everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for example, like my homepage, guide that I have, I talk about headlines in the beginning of it. And I did a YouTube video of like 3 best ways to write headlines. And in the captions, I send a link to it and I talk about it in the video, right? So there's just ways that you can just repurpose it. You don't really have to come up with this whole fresh idea. Take something in that guide that you have and turn it into a video, turn it into a carousel post for Instagram or LinkedIn and a long Twitter thread, what have you. Just, find ways that you can get some new email subscribers. And then again, like we talked about, what's that why, nurture them, throughout it and see if they can turn them into customers. I've done like a presentation.
Now I need to get your homepage guide. I'm like, oh, I haven't looked at this in a long time. I got to go dig back into my Terry files.
Let me see here. I think I have it up here. Let's see if I can get it here. Yeah. Let's just make sure. We'll share it here. We'll do this. Can we all see that? Yeah. All right, great. So like here's the guide here. If we go up, the ultimate high converting homepage copy playbook, made this in Canva. Let me go ahead and I'll drop that out there. But yeah, this is it here. It's just, I'm kind of, really agitating the problem of like why you should have good copy on your website, some ideas here, introducing myself a little bit. And then we go into the headline part here, the hero banner, the main headline. And so 2 tips to write a great headline. And like I could turn that into like a YouTube video, or I could turn that into like a Twitter post, LinkedIn post, and link people to download this guide.
And I love that too, looking at this, like our marketing brains, like taking little pieces of it and then saying, hey, if you want the rest of it, then go grab it. And that would be a great way to kind of tease it out. And I think too, something I was thinking about is like behind the scenes. I do this a lot where I talk about something I'm working on with my client, maybe a struggle I've had, something that we nailed and said, hey, this is something I talk about, like how to write these type of emails, so go grab my segue guide. So using kind of behind the scenes content as well, I think is a great way to bring it up in kind of a fresh, and it doesn't seem like super salesy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great point. Now I want to bring up a topic here around the lead magnet, Brenna, is that once they download it, you send them their copy of it, but do you create a welcome sequence? Should you plan a welcome sequence when you create your lead magnet?
A bazillion %. Like, don't even waste your time creating a lead magnet if you're not going to create a welcome sequence. So this should be like part of your overall plan for sure is creating a welcome sequence that goes with it, because especially in 2021, and I want to say it's a waste if you don't have a welcome sequence, at least a welcome email. I think it's something like 50% of businesses don't even send a welcome email after. So like if you just send one, if your welcome series is 1, you're already like beating out your competition. And I think in this world of online business, it's getting to the point where there's so much going on. There's so much information. People aren't going to remember you if you don't have some type of welcome sequence, most likely. I have people in my inbox once in a while, and I'm just like, did I ever sign up for their stuff? And it's because they believe that I probably signed up for something, because that's what I do. And they never sent anything that's to give me like a lasting impression of who they are. And so if you look at just welcome email stats alone, it's like your welcome email that gets sent out is going to have such a high, I think it's like, what is the average open rate on a welcome email? Is it something like 60, 70? I don't remember.
It's been high. I think it's above 60 for sure. Yeah.
And your whole welcome series, those are going to be the highest performing emails in terms of open rates. Although soon you won't be able to see what those are. But for now, it's going to be the highest, open email. So a welcome series is not only a way to help, like imprint who you are, but it also kind of sets the stage of who you are, why they want you to be in their inbox, and why it's important even to go back, and why that lead magnet is important.
Yeah. You brought up such a good point where it's like you download something and you just get like a quick email being like, thanks for downloading this. Click here to get your guide. And then there's nothing else. So it's like you don't stay top of mind, and maybe you just saw that email in passing today because it was a busy day, and you forget that you downloaded it to look at it. Like a welcome sequence can follow up with it, where you can then thank you for downloading. Then the next day you're like, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself too, a little bit more about me, or like where you can find me, like join my Facebook group, right? And then you can, talk about some other things. What are some examples, for welcome series emails? Put you on the spot here.
I definitely think Right. Well, getting them to reply is super important. So that first email, your call to action, besides giving them whatever that you've delivered them, you want to make sure and try and get them to start replying to you, because that will help keep you out of the spam box. Right. So this is why a lot of times people will deliver the email, like you'll sign up for something and it will give you the download. I don't typically do that because I'm trying to get them to go and open my email, read my email, and reply to my email. So keeping that in mind is getting them to reply is going to be super important for your first one. I use the email to get them acquainted with me and my business, get them acquainted with some more additional content, providing them like with some extra value, as they would say it. But whether that's getting someone expanding your reach and getting them, not only are they on your email list, should you invite them to be part of your Facebook group, your Instagram, think about the places that you hang out, and also try and get them over and following you in different places. Because once again, the more that you are part of someone's daily life in terms of the content that you put out, the more that people see me as the email marketer or the pre-launch person, is the person when they do need something, they're going to be looking to. So I think a really great tip here is if you've ever been on a podcast, really pushing people to listen to a podcast episode or a live specifically, just because, if you're in someone's ears, if you're listening to someone, it takes it to like that next level. I also think using your email to spread social proof is really important, using it to kind of show, like we talked about earlier, some of that credibility and authority that you have. And depending on your end game, this is the whole thing for your lead magnet, right? Like, what is our end game of what I'm trying to get someone to do? So towards the end of my welcome series, now, there's no right or wrong answer to this. I think that you can sell throughout. It just depends on who you are, what you're selling. I think that you can sell throughout your entire welcome series, especially if you have like a lower price to offer, if that's kind of your end game, if someone needs it. If you're trying to sell a $10,000 coaching package, I don't think I'd bring that up on the first welcome emails. I think you have to kind of look at some of these things. But usually I am definitely towards the end of this welcome series, getting them to make hopefully some type of purchase, booking some type of call, something, and putting it out there so they're very clear on what we do. I think the other thing I'll mention here in welcome series, this is one of the questions I get asked the most often. I don't know about you, Terry, but how often to send these emails out? I like using my welcome series as like a kind of almost to scrub people, right? Like I want to send out several emails in a row, like, because people are like, oh, I don't want to bug people. Like, no, you need to bug people at first. You need to like imprint who you are in their minds. And then you need to let them know who you are, have these really, I personally, and I'm sure I know you do too, like writing really fun, personal emails. But, my style is not for everyone. Like I have some like cheesy humor going. Like if you're not into that, if you don't want to hear a random story about my kid once in a while or about my pug, you probably aren't going to want to like be on the email list. Right. So I use it as a way to like scrub my email list at the same time. So also now, of course, if you're having mass unsubscribes, you might be doing something wrong, but that's not usually the case. But sending out emails, if I have like, let's say a 5 email welcome series, I like to send the first 3, like one after the other, and then maybe start to spread them out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd say like the first 3, I think that's a good, reference there of just back to back 24 hours after the first one, set that up because stay top of mind. And I love the point about weeding out people really, because it's just like, look, if they came here just to download this thing and carry on with the rest of their life, cool. You got what you came for. Maybe you still follow me on social media. Maybe you'll be back, but I get it. You carry on, but like you can like start to like build that relationship with people. And they're like, oh, I like listening to, or like reading, Terry's and Brenna's emails. They're very personable and they're helpful. And just keep giving them information. It's like they came to you for something already. You have them, you have their attention. Why not try to keep it, at least keep them, in your community? Or eventually if you do like a course, if you do, a webinar, a paid event, something, like you said, like a big consultation, maybe you have like a big workshop and they're like, yes, I want to sign up for this. Brenna, I trust, she's great. So I think it's super important. So you brought up the number 5. what would you say would be like a good like minimum of emails for a welcome series?
I say 3 to 5 minimum. Like,
Okay.
I think if you're someone who's getting overwhelmed, like, you know, sometimes if I telling someone to sit down a series of 5 emails that are like somewhat have, you know, some strategy, this and that, people are like, I can't write 5 emails in a row, you know, like getting 3 good ones and getting them out there. I always keep in mind too is, and I need to do this for myself, I need to rewrite my welcome series, is going back to maybe too, I have some emails that I've used that I could repurpose and start adding. So maybe over time you get the 3 done with the purpose of writing some other emails over time that you know you're going to add to that, you know, email list. I think if you can get 5 to 7, I really like that number a little bit better.
Okay.
You have such a beautiful opportunity at first when you first come. You know, no one's ever going to be more interested in you in terms of like curiosity than they are going to be at the beginning of when they sign up for your email list. So that's usually the numbers. But I also don't like it for it to be too long for multiple reasons. I think, you know, it sometimes and this goes into like another discussion, but I feel like the 5, 7, 10, and then I think after that you can throw them into your general email list.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, just like, I just want to bring it back, like thinking of the end game. So like for you, if you're doing this email segues and you have this welcome sequence, it's like, what are some ideas for those in between emails to get them to the end? Like, are you giving away tips for subject lines? Like, just kind of give people some ideas of how to nurture them throughout it. Sorry, Brenna, what do you think of like those ideas for the emails, like in between, of just like get to know you, like just like to like get them to end up potentially purchasing in that 7th email?
Right. So I'm going back to, I'm always doing some type of like creation stories, or I've learned from our friend Marisa, like a fun facts email. I think so always super fun. I always have, I think about the different areas that I want them to connect with me on. And so keeping, you know, maybe I have a Facebook group, maybe I want them to follow me on Instagram. So maybe I do an email on each one just because I like one call to action. I definitely have some type of client social proof email where I'm going through with a case study. And then I always have just a full on like sales email. This is what we're here for, and you know, coming by. But I do like giving during this time, the initial part of someone getting to know me, I like giving away some of those quick tips, those quick content.
Yeah.
However, as time goes on, I don't like to rest there too much because I want to attract, of course, buyers. I don't want to attract just the freebie seekers. So, but during this initial part when someone's getting to know me, I'm definitely thinking of different ways that I can show value, give quick wins to let them know that, you know, I'm the person that they need in their corner when it comes to email or, you know, writing email or writing pre-launch copy.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, great advice there. All right, so let's wrap it up with one more question. And to everybody who's been watching live, thank you for hanging out with us. Don't be shy to say hi. And then if you guys have questions that maybe some topics we didn't cover, you know, please feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll save some time at the end to answer them if you have any. And then watching the replay, you know, leave some questions in the comments, and, you know, Brenna and I will check on those and ask them when we can. But this is a fun question here, Brenna. So to wrap this up, do we believe, and do you believe in done is better than perfect when it comes to getting your lead magnet out there?
I would say yes and no.
I know. Be political. It's all good.
No, I do think yes. I think my whole business has been built on being done, right? Like just getting things out there, not doing things not imperfect. However, I do think if you jump ahead to too much done is better than perfect, are you creating something that you haven't thought through the strategy, that you haven't really, you know, looked in your audience? Do you want to spend hours on Canva to create some type of PDF that's going to flop, right? So when I think of done is better than perfect, I think like, okay, maybe I'm testing out this idea. Maybe I'm going to put it into a Google Doc and make that, you know, what my lead magnet is, and before I go and spend hours or pay designer to put it into a PDF. So those are the kind of done it better than perfect that I like. I think that, yes, we want to get something out into the world, but I do think that it warrants testing before we spend a lot of time and resources on things to find out that it's not where you're going. And I have an example. I created a lead magnet when I first started about the roadmap to starting an online business, which I do think is, I've given it to family members who want like advice on where they should start and how, how they even start doing this. But in the end, I wasn't trying to become the person who tells you A to Z how to start your online business. I want to teach you how to write copy. So like some of those things is really thinking through, going back to that strategy, and also going through and listening to what people are saying, but not spending so much time on something that you end up wasting your time. And even if it's a little bit of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I'm not just going to say this to just say it, but like I 100% agree, especially with this is like, I lean definitely more towards just get it done at this point. But like, again, be strategic, at least see what's working. Like if you start marketing it and people are ended up downloading it, well, clearly this is something that they want, right? And then maybe you can adjust the aesthetics of it. But if they're getting it and people aren't complaining like, hey, this was misleading, like even if it is a Google Doc of like headline ideas, right? And they just like it and they can keep it, if it's just a simple PDF of it, like get it done. If you find that if you think it's valuable and people are, willingly downloading it and nobody's giving you any bad feedback, that's good. You got people in your email list now, right? And like when I started, it's like I definitely spent a lot of time in Canva trying to make it look better. I feel like I was maybe in between, more towards that like perfect, like I want this to look really good, but I could have easily just simplified it a little bit more, I think, just to get it out. I think that's kind of where I'm at now with some other ideas, but like I have more experience in Canva and kind of knowing what my audience wants, so it's a little bit easier. Like I sell like a template bundle and I just give them a copy of it in the Google Doc. I'm not trying to deliver it to them in this, grand PDF way. It's like, here, customize it yourself. It's just a simple Google Doc because that's how they work as well. So, think of your target audience too in the end of it as well. But I definitely lean more towards just get it done and don't strive for perfection.
So I don't know if my internet might be cutting out a little bit. So okay. I missed the last part of what you said, but yeah, I completely agree. I think in online world, I think we're always looking for these definitive answers of like, do it this way or this way. This is the way you should do it. And I think there's so much gray area, right? Where I fall between the middle of done and perfect. I definitely like sway back and forth sometimes on what it looks like. Absolutely. And I do think that if you can get yourself where you're in the middle, where you kind of are able to, I think that's where the success in business really comes, right? Like getting onto a deeper level of this lead magnets is this, if we can figure out when done makes sense and when being a little bit more perfect makes sense for our business and for who we are, that's how we start creating a business that we love, that our customers really believe in.
Yeah, maybe the done part is getting that lead magnet out, and then the more perfect angle is like that big service offer at the end of your welcome series. Like if you're making this course or like a workshop, like then make that really good and valuable. But get that lead magnet done to build those leads for sure.
Yeah. And I do think there's something about getting things done is where you start finding what's working and what's not working 100%. Like just putting stuff out there and walking down this path of imperfection is how I've started to find success 100%.
Right. Getting it done is better than regret. That's for sure. Right. So, all right. Well, Brenna, thank you so much. That's the show today for the Creator Spotlight. I'm so happy to have you on. You gave so much great advice, good conversations. Had a few people like it on here that I can see. We still have a couple people watching live, maybe a little bit shy to ask questions. But again, leave them in the comments. Any replay watchers, we'll be sure to keep our eyes on it and help you out. But hopefully this was helpful for everybody. Any last words?
No, I don't think so. Thank you for having me. I'm so appreciative.
Yeah. And again, just in case people are, discovering you for the first time, Brenna, let them know where they can find you.
Yes, you can come and find me at brennamcgowan.co. You can find me also on Instagram at Brenna McGowan Co. And then I also have my own Facebook group, which is the Copy and Content Conversation, where we talk all things copywriting and content. And I started the Facebook group in January, and it's been really, really fun. Just yesterday, I did a hot seat with one of our members where we talked about their about page and kind of breaking things down. So that's those are the three main places you can find me. And of course my email list. So if you go to brennamcgowan.co, you can sign up for my segue guide. And thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, definitely join that group. I love that you do the hot seats. I've tuned in briefly for some of those, and you see the feedback, and those are super helpful. We did have one question come in right at the end here. Suvik from Facebook: how to get started as an email copywriter? What is the framework I need to follow while crafting my emails?
Well, that's
any specific framework. It's a little broad question, but what's your best piece of advice?
I would say and not just because I want you to go join my email list, but I think on my segue guide, I think I really break down how emails that are these story-based emails are written. And I believe every email copywriter needs to have a strong basis on this basic writing of a story in your emails. So that would be kind of where the framework is, I would say, in terms of starting.
I put the link here if anybody, I just slipped it. That was interesting. But I could do that during the thing. But I put the brennamcgowan.co/segues if anybody watching this at the end here, and I'll put it in the post too, in the comments for people to check it out. But continue.
And then starting as an email copywriter, that's kind of a loaded question. I know I personally got my start through, I mentioned Chris Orzechowski. He had an email course, and I decided to take it. I think he's doing it right now in Copy Chief, and it's going to be Evergreen. So that would be my recommendation for someone who's starting off, is figuring out a mentor who teaches. That's where I learned. The other place too is Laura Belgray. She has amazing resources. Go and start following email copywriters, people that are doing this, and start studying their emails, because I think that's another great place, is that you can kind of figure out what they're doing, what you like, and then figuring out your own spin on how to make something like that work for you.
Yeah, great advice. Sign up for other people's email list and just be strategic about it when you're seeing how they frame it and how they promote offers, how they're just giving away something for free, some tips. I think that's great advice. So Suvik, thank you so much for your question. Again, everybody, go check out her freebie, Segues. You guys can go on terryschilling.writes.com and look at my free downloads as well. Brenna, thank you so much for the time today. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a good one. We'll see you around here soon.